Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Asma Al Qannas, and I am the Emergency Management Coordinator at New Jersey Primary Care Association in Hamilton, New Jersey, and I hold a master's degree in disaster medicine and management. I had the honor to visit Gaza only once, and that was unfortunately during the 2014 war on Gaza. And I had the honor to serve as a volunteer at Al Shifa Hospital. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to visit Gaza soon in a bit better and different circumstances. For our presentation today, we are going to be exploring the utilization of virtual reality in emergency management training. And before I start, I would like to make two quick disclaimers. First is that I do speak two and a half languages, and I'm in the process of learning the fourth language, so hence the accent, of course. And the second disclaimer is that I'm going to be going through this presentation very fast because I just found out that I only have 10 minutes to present this presentation. So buckle up and let's go and get started. The need for the study is that emergency management is a really critical field, and we really need more practical experience for people who serve as emergency responders or emergency managers. In those situations, and the effective training is right now a key aspect of disaster preparedness efforts worldwide, to bridge the gap between the classroom knowledge and the real life experience, and to put the theoretical knowledge and functions into practice. Virtual reality can be defined as an artificial environment that consists of images and sounds created by a computer and that is affected by the actions of the person who's experiencing this virtual reality. In other words, virtual reality enables users to actually immerse themselves in an artificial environment that is simulated by a computer and gives them the ability to navigate through this environment and interact with the objects in this environment. And Stanford University has a lab that's called Virtual Human Interaction Lab. And the director of this lab, his name is Jeremy Pellinson, and he's amazing because they're currently studying the effects of virtual reality on the human behavior, and they have so much research that you can read about all those effects. And in very simple words, he states that even if the front of your brain tells you over and over again that this virtual world is not real, the back of your brain, the one that is in charge of your basic survival, it will not differentiate. So I'm going to show you right now a video for a person who's trying virtual reality for the first time, just to give you an example of how virtual reality can have a huge effect on our minds.
Oh my god.
For this study, I conducted a literature review to see if virtual reality or how virtual reality are being utilized for training, especially for emergency management training, and see the outcome of those training using virtual reality. Also, I conducted a survey of the market to be able to see if virtual reality is cost efficient and what are the options that are available in the market that will allow us to use virtual reality for our emergency management training. I would also like to mention that virtual reality only became available to the regular consumers in the market in 2014 when Facebook decided to buy a virtual reality company that's called Oculus. Before that, virtual reality was available, but it was through very expensive devices, and no, it wasn't available to all consumers at a reasonable price, which is why the major research in this area started after 2014. And even though the virtual reality is a fairly new in the market, it has been utilized by NASA, Boeing, by the police and military here in the U.S., and by other organizations and companies for education and training purposes. For now, very quickly, I'm going to walk you through the features of virtual reality and why is it a very strong modality that can be used for training. The first feature for virtual reality is immersion, and it's the perception of being physically present in a non-physical world. And this is the first and the main thing that people who experience virtual reality are going to tell you, is that we actually feel that we were in that non-physical world. And this perception is created by surrounding the user of the virtual reality system and images and sounds and other stimuli that provide an engrossing feeling in this environment. And just for example, first responders have been using virtual reality to train fire, EMS, and police to respond to major incidents and mass casualty incidents. And the main thing that the feedback that they come up with is that the responders actually feel that they're under pressure and feel like if they were responding to an actual emergency. The second feature for virtual reality is that it is cost efficient, and some people argue that it is really costly to develop the software for virtual reality, and that is correct. But when you actually calculate it and take into consideration the number of times that you actually that you can repeat this exercise and the number of people that you can include in this exercise that you're developing, and make this comparison, this actually proves that virtual reality is cost efficient, because in the conventional training methods we pay all this money to conduct this exercise according to our budget once or twice a year, and we only include a limited number of people. But when using virtual reality programs, we can repeat this exercise as many times as we want, and we can include as many people as we want in this exercise without any problem, which makes it very cost efficient. The next feature of virtual reality is that it enhances memory and information retention, and there are so many studies that discusses how virtual reality can actually enhance its memory retention. One of the studies was a randomized longitudinal experimental design using two groups and repeated measures, where a convenience sample of associated degree nursing students who had been enrolled in a disaster course were randomized into two groups. Both randomized groups completed web-based disaster-related modules. And then the treatment group, in addition to that, completed a virtually simulated disaster experience. And then the learning was measured using a 20-question multiple-choice knowledge assessment that was conducted right after the course and after 2 months of the training. And then when they analyzed the results, they found out that the simulation group, or the group that went through virtual reality demonstrated significant ability over time and stability over time in knowledge retention, while the non-simulation group, or the group that didn't go through virtual reality, showed significant decay in their knowledge scores, which proves that virtual reality can be a really strong modality to be used in training and education. The next features for virtual reality is that it allows for real-time feedback, and it also allows for flexible adjustment of the scenario and gives the ability to change the settings of the exercise according to the input of the trainees. The final feature for virtual reality is that it gives the ability to the trainee to play and be proficient in multiple roles. In other words, virtual reality allows the participants to play and experience multiple roles as a cross-training experience, so that if we have a person who's really proficient in his role, but he's not able to attend or be there to respond to this emergency, other people can actually fill his role proficiently and respond to this emergency. Another phrase that we use is perfect rehearsal, which means that virtual reality allows the user to replay the scenario multiple times with small and large variations until they can't get it wrong. And virtual reality can provide us with this opportunity of training personnel over and over again until they're actually proficient in their roles. To sum up, virtual reality is a very strong tool that can be used to bridge the gap between conventional training methods and real life emergencies. And Virtual reality is really important to be used for high impact and low probability incidents, where decision making becomes really important aspect of responding to the emergencies. We can also use virtual reality to create past incidents and learn from our mistakes, and we can create new scenarios, and this is one of the major strengths for virtual reality, is that we can really create unlimited number of possibilities wherever we can think of, so that we can learn our responders to actually be flexible and know how to respond to unexpected scenarios or incidents or events. And the last thing is that I do recommend that we should collaborate with VR companies to make this technology accessible to emergency managers and responders and anyone who's in the emergency management and disaster field. And I'm so happy that many of the humanitarian international non-for-profit organizations has realized the importance of virtual reality and started to use virtual reality to promote their message and promote their efforts. And one of those organizations is the Doctors Without Borders. And I have been to one of their events where when they came to Philadelphia last year, where we walked through a refugee camp, and eventually we used the virtual reality, and it was a simple version of virtual reality, using a 360 video. And I still remember as if I did that yesterday, how I walked through a refugee camp in Jordan. And I saw everything in that refugee camp, and it really affected me as if I was walking through the refugee camp myself. I would just like to say thank you all for listening, and please, by all means, if you have any question, I'm more than happy to answer your question or refer you to any of the references that I used. You can see my email and my phone number on the screen right now. Thank you again so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Drop to the floor, take cover underneath the table, and hold onto the table leg.
I thought it was a really interesting experience. It was the first time I was experiencing virtual reality, and you really feel you're immersed into a different world, and it feels very real. It's really a great idea, and it can be an innovative way to both for people to be more prepared if they live in an earthquake-prone area, but also for others like humanitarian workers to get to learn about these situations.